Hey guys, this is Miles from MoneySenseMedia. If you're anything like me, you did not come from money. And what I mean by that is that your parents or your grandparents weren't wealthy. They didn't own a number of businesses. They didn't have a huge amount of investment or anything like that. That's the story for most Canadians. It's also the story for more immigrant families that immigrated into Canada or the US, as a matter of fact. In today's video, I want to speak to you about some money mindsets that might be holding you back. Everything you see with wealth management and with personal finance success starts and falls with your mindset. And in today's video, I want to share with you some of the money mindsets that might be holding you back. Here's the first one. Money is the root of all evil. Now, a lot of us have the habit of thinking that people that have money, that generate a significant amount of income or anything like that, are intrinsically evil because the way they do that is by oppressing other people. Money itself is actually quite neutral. It's what you do with it that makes the difference. So if your mindset is one of guilt or being ashamed because you think that earning money is going to make you evil, greedy, or anything like that, you might subconsciously be trying to avoid being in a situation that's going to make you greedy. And the truth of the matter is the way you manage your resources is a lot more important than the amount or the degree of resources you actually have. So here's your call to action. If this is you, if this is the mindset that you have in terms of thinking that money itself is bad or evil, I want you to challenge yourself to look at examples in the world of people that use their income for good, that people that use their income and their financial power in order to influence and to help and to advocate for the voices of others. These examples are out there in society, and you and I have to change our mindsets in order not to see money as an evil, but to see money as an asset in order to do good and to help the people that we love and that we care for. The second common thought that I hear about money is, I'm just not good with money. And this is, again, a very limiting mindset. Believing that you're bad with money creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're bad with money because you say you're bad with money, and so because of that, well, guess what? You're bad with money. A lot of money management tips starts with your mindset, and it's with the understanding that you have the power within your hands to change your outcome and your destiny with the way you manage the resources you're blessed with. If you constantly think that you're bad with money, it'll be very difficult for you to make the right investments in your education and in your learning in order for you to learn new tricks and tips around money and financial management. Unfortunately, a lot of people that think that they're bad with money don't spend any time looking at their actual finances. They live in a bit of a cave where they fear that looking at their finances is going to create a huge amount of anxiety and mistrust in their capacity to actually manage their personal finances. So here's your call to action for this one. If this is you, I want you to stop telling yourself you're bad with money. Rather, I want you to start changing your mindset and ask yourself, where can you get information in order to drive good money habits and understand more about personal finance? Maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's subscribing to this channel, smashing the like button and sharing it with a friend, and finding other content that's related to increasing your knowledge and your expertise as it relates to personal finance. Here's mindset number 3. I'll always be in debt. Now this one really hits home for me because my wife and I at some point in time had over $600,000 worth of debt. It was both mortgage debt and student loans. We had over $200,000 worth of student loans. And I know the feeling of what it is to wake up in the morning and look at your bank statement and say, my goodness, I'm never gonna get out of this. The truth of the matter is, if you play your cards right and if you're disciplined, you can actually break free of any type of consumer debt, and it's quite possible in your lifetime without having to die or to declare bankruptcy. So if this is you, I want you to remember that you can get out of this situation that you're in, and all you need is a strategy and consistency. That's all you need. So here's our call to action. I want you to pull out your bank statement, if that's you. I want you to look at the debt that you have. I want you to print it out, and I want you to stick it on your computer. And the reason for that is because I want to increase your overall level of awareness with regards to the debt that you have, whether it's consumer debt, whether it's mortgage debt, or whatever it is. And then I want you to build a plan where you will systematically chip at your debt slowly but surely. You can use the debt snowball method or the debt avalanche method, which I talk about in my other videos. Whatever method you decide to choose, decide today that the time is now for you to tackle your debt. The other mindset limitation we tend to have is, I deserve to spend because I work hard. Now, that in itself is actually true in the sense that you deserve to take care of yourself because you actually work hard. What you shouldn't do, however, is mortgage your life and mortgage your time because you work 5 days a week or because you did a couple of hours, a couple of shifts of overtime. Many people justify their overspending simply because they feel entitled to reward themselves because they go to work. Listen, this is a marathon and not a race. Everybody needs to work and everybody needs to work overtime. And you don't get to spend more money, specifically money that you don't have, just because you woke up in this morning and you brushed your teeth. That's not how life works. If you're gonna win in this money game, you're gonna have to be intentional about your spending. You're gonna have to be very intentional about your rewarding as well. So here's your call to action. If you want to reward yourself, that's not a problem, but I want you to budget and to plan your reward. And I want your reward to be triggered by a milestone you've accomplished. So I'll give you an example. When we cleared off our student debt as a whole, we went on a trip for which we paid cash. There was nothing wrong with rewarding ourselves because we had just hit our significant milestone. When we broke even in our first investment property, we decided to go out and have a nice meal together, my wife and I, and we actually wrote it off because it was a business expense and a bit of a business meeting at the same time. But you get the drift, right? What I'm trying to tell you here is that your rewards should be triggered by a milestone that you achieve. When you reward yourself that way, then it's long, it's lasting, and it's sustainable over time. Here's myth number 5. I don't earn enough money to save. Now this is actually a big one. A lot of us, and I'm guilty of this, a lot of us believe that we have to generate a certain amount of income in order to start saving money. That's a myth, that's not true, and that's actually a lie. Saving is not about the percentage of your income you're able to save. It's about the behavior you develop over time in desiring and wanting to save consistently. Now, it's easy to believe that you can't save because you're not generating enough income. But rather than doing that, what you need to focus on is on the actual behavior. The behavior of saving consistently over time is a lot more important than the amount you're saving. So here's your call to action. Whether you're making $15,000 a year, $30,000 a year, or $50,000 a year, I want you to start saving $5 to $10 every week. Now here's the trick, however. I don't want you to do this yourself manually every week. I want you to do this as an automated saving that comes directly from your checking or your savings account. Call your bank, call your financial institution, and tell them that you want to put $5, $10 away every Friday, for example, or every payday, depending on what your situation is. And I want you to put that money in an investment account or in some kind of high interest paying savings account. The trick here is the consistency. It has to be consistent every week. You're gonna notice that I'm not saying every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, or every month. If you get paid every 2 weeks, I want you to save every week. If you get paid every month, I still want you to put some savings every week, because the truth of the matter is compound interest is real. If you're saving money on a weekly basis, you're hacking your brain slowly but surely so that it understands that saving money is a core principle of you building wealth over time. Here's myth number 6. I'll start saving later. Procrastination is a common habit and it's a wealth killer. Pushing your financial goals to a later date, next year, next month, or in 5 years, or when you get married, or when you have kids, is actually playing against you, because one of the strongest factor in determining your wealth over time is how early you start and how consistent you can be in your saving, your money habits, and your investments, and so on and so forth. So here's your call to action. Don't wait. Start today. Start with one habit and then build it to 2 habits around money management. Perhaps it's debt repayment first, then saving second, then it's investment third. Make sure that you're on a continuous journey to start managing and owning your personal finances today. Don't wait any further. Myth number 7, investing is too risky. Now, if you're like my wife, you're risk averse and you don't like to be in situations where you can actually or potentially lose money. And I think that there are a number of things that you can do in order to manage your risk. The truth of the matter is, however, you need to appreciate that if you have $100,000, $10,000, and all you do is you keep it in a savings account, you're actually losing money year over year. The cost of living, inflation, eats up your power to spend by 2 to 3% every year. So I'll give you a simple example. If you had $100,000 in an account today and you did nothing with it, it would actually be worth $98,000 a year later. And that's simply because the cost of living has increased to a point where you're losing purchasing power over time. The way to mitigate with this is by investing your money somewhere where you could get a return in order to compensate for that inflation and make a bit of money on top. So there are a number of ways for you to manage your risk, and I'm not suggesting that I'm going to tell you how to do this. You should speak to a professional, a licensed investment professional, in order to look at what your options are. But there are some conservative investment portfolio, some high yield dividend paying stocks that you could purchase that will give you a good protection over inflation and that will help you build wealth over time. Here's another limiting mindset. I can't budget. It's too restrictive. Budgeting is one of the secret powers. Budgeting, or the B word, is often seen as something that's restrictive, that puts you in a box, that doesn't allow you to have fun and to grow in terms of your money management. Well, I want to challenge that function and suggest to you that budgeting is a lot more of a tool than it is something that restricts you. Budgeting is a way for you to increase your awareness of where your money goes, of the things your money does, and the things that it should not be doing as a whole. Budgeting is a tool that a lot of wealthy people use in order to drive and generate significant income over time. So here's your call to action on this one. I want you to create a simple budget here, nothing fancy. Use Excel, Google Sheets, or a piece of paper. And I want you to think of what your income is and what your expenses are and how much money you have at the end of the month. Now here's the trick and here's the kicker. Writing your budget is the first step. The second step is reviewing your budget. 30 days from now, I want you to look at your spreadsheet, your paper, or your Google Sheets, and I want you to tell yourself if the money went exactly where you said it was going to go. And put a comment in the chat. Just say, hey, I tried the budget for the first time, and yeah, my money went exactly where I told it to go. Or no, there was an emergency or something, and that didn't work. What we're doing here is we're hacking your brain to understand that assessing and visualizing your money on a regular basis is not a problem, and that you ought to have a plan on where you want your money to go. Here's myth number 9. I need to keep up with the Jones. I need to look good. I need to show people that I'm making it. I need to look like I'm meeting a certain stature. Now, not only is this a horrible money mindset, but it can actually keep you poor. Dave Ramsey loves to say that we buy things we don't need to impress people that we don't even like. And I think he's bang on with that particular expression. When you manage your money and you manage your assets and you manage your income, what you ought to be doing is you ought to be determining the framework and the denominator on which you want to live your lifestyle. You need to buy the car that suits your needs. You ought not to be buying a car or a house in order to impress other people. So here's your call to action on this one. I want you to take a step back and assess what your financial goals are over the next 3 to 5 years. And then I want you to look at your lifestyle and measure if your lifestyle is going to allow you to achieve these financial objectives or not. If the answer is a resounding yes, then where you are today from a lifestyle perspective is where you ought to stay over the next 3 to 5 years. If the answer is no, then there's an opportunity for you to scale back to make sure that your lifestyle actually accelerates your journey to your financial goals and your financial success. I want you to challenge yourself as well to stop any kind of impulse buying. What I mean by impulse buying is purchasing something that you hadn't budgeted for beforehand. It could be a Starbucks. Some people, it could be a car or a house or a boat or anything with an engine in it, which we both know is not an asset. I want you to avoid impulse buy because oftentimes, particularly when it comes to keeping up with the Jones, the stuff that we buy is stuff that we buy on a limb that we hadn't budgeted and planned for at the forefront. Here's another mindset limitation. I'll never be rich, never be rich. So why even bother? So the issue with that mindset is twofold. The first is the word rich. What does rich really mean? Does it mean $1 million worth of assets? Does it mean being debt-free? Does it mean being able to give to those that you love? I think it's really important for you to articulate what rich actually means for you. And I think it's also extremely important to make sure that you define what it is in a way that's reasonable and that aligns with your values and your ethics. Having personal values and ethics becomes really important when it comes to money management and determining how quickly or slowly you're going to win with money. Being rich or being a quote-unquote millionaire is all about strategy and not about luck. Most people that win money at the lottery end up losing it and wasting all of it in 2 to 3 years because they don't have the right mindset. So my call to action here is for you to challenge this mindset, not being able to attain millionaire status or being quote-unquote rich. Not only can you do it, but you can actually exceed that goal if you put together a plan and a strategy for you to achieve it. More importantly, all you need to do is have a bit of focus and a bit of discipline, and you'll be surprised at the results that you can generate over a very short period of time. Your call to action on this one is very simple. If you don't already have an emergency fund, I want you to build one. A very small one. It could be $1,000, it could be $3,000. I want you as quickly as possible to create an emergency fund where you're gonna have $1,000 or $3,000 sitting in a savings account or even under your mattress. I don't care where you put the money. I want you to have a quick win on this one. Because $1,000 can very easily become $10,000 and very easily become $100,000 if you apply those same money habits at scale. And we're going to talk about that in another video. Now here's the last one, which is a really important one. I have to spend money to be happy. Now this is a bit of a tricky one because indeed you must be, you need to be alive to be happy, and to be alive you need shelter, you need to eat, and you need some basic necessities. And those things do require you to spend. But I think you understand what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about spending excessively in order to quote unquote buy happiness. Money in itself does not buy happiness. It can certainly help, however, if you can pay cash for a trip, if you can pay cash for your mortgage, and if you can help people that are in need. A lot of people get a lot of sense of gratification and a lot of sense of accomplishment by helping others and by investing in others. So it can bring some happiness without a doubt. However, spending money, impulse buying, and all these other types of things in themselves do not bring happiness. They can actually bring financial stress if they're done on impulse buying and they're done in a way that's not controlled and that's not being intentional. So the call to action here is I want to challenge your thinking, and I want you to challenge your thinking that spending equals happiness. I want you to dig deep inside and find those things, those times in your life where you were the most content. And oftentimes it involved people, or it involved peace, it involved not being stressed with something. Now, the last thing I want you to do is I want you to appreciate and recognize that winning with money and achieving your personal finance goals has a lot more to do with what you tell your mind rather than how much income you generate, the type of car you drive, or how much money your business is actually driving in terms of revenue. If you start with your money mindsets and start tackling those limiting thinking and behaviors you might have, you'll be surprised by your results, and you'll be surprised by how much growth you'll experience in a very short period of time. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.